Hello, folks. Hope you're having a wonderful day today. I'm Dana Torgersen, and welcome to our Sumo Logic live webinar on Cloud SIEM Enterprise. Now, a quick little housekeeping before I get started here. This live webinar is being recorded. And for those of you that are in attendance, and those of us that couldn't make it today, which is perfectly fine, all of you will get a copy of that recording afterwards. And I'm going to take some time at the end for any questions that you may have. So while I'm speaking, please feel free to click the Q&A button in your webinar window and jot down your question. We'll try to get to as many of them as we can. And we've allotted 30 minutes for this webinar today, and I want to ensure I can get you folks onto your next meeting time because we all love Zoom so much and we want to get to the next Zoom meeting so desperately. So I hope you'll bear with me, folks. And again, jot down any questions that you may have, and we'll get to that. So as we are talking to different businesses and organizations out there, we realize that there is this need for security operations and SecOps, basically, in short. It has to change. Something in the workflow, something in the technology stack, something in the staffing. We really have come down to these three key challenges that we've uncovered. And the first one comes with all this cloud transformation. The fact that we're spending 6x of our general IT spending is going towards cloud migration efforts. Tells you how hot this is and how much businesses and enterprises and even state and local governments are moving their workloads and their services to the cloud. The only problem with that is that legacy security tools weren't built for the cloud, and the current solutions present technological limitations that aren't aligned potentially to your org's cloud strategy. And that's tough. And of course, when it comes down to SecOps, your key foundational platform, your SIEM solution, that's also suffering as a result of that effort. Now, all that effort to move things to the cloud, this is changing the threat landscape as well. We're seeing an explosion of attack surface, especially now if you even factor in the work from home situation with, of course, now a myriad of IP addresses and different behaviors and different traffic patterns from folks working here, there, and everywhere. It just has truly expanded the attack surface. And so these shifts in the threat landscape is because the apps that are continuously being migrated to the cloud, the fact that a simple misconfiguration could lead to a major data breach too. And of course, that's always in the back of our minds. And so with these this modern surface with Internet of Thing devices, mobile devices, multi-cloud environments, containerization, modern apps like load balancing, VPC flows, continuous delivery, microservices, it all has really come to head in the last couple of years here. But this third challenge on the right is the one that seems to be the most tangible, the most visceral to businesses and organizations out there, is the fact that they have so many alerts coming in, depending on different reports. In fact, we just have a report that came out that we sponsored with Dimensional Research. It is our 2020 State of SecOps and Automation Report. And I encourage you, if you want, you can go download that by going to sumologic.com/state of SecOps. That'll take you to our landing page. We just ask for your business email address and you'll get a copy of that. It'll help articulate, and you can use this as you're having a conversation with your peers, maybe with your management or your board of directors. For those of the CISOs that I see that are on the call today, this gives you some ammunition to explain, that you're not alone out there, that this feeling of alert fatigue and this flooding and noise of alerts coming in is a global problem, because this was a global survey actually, so it captured the feedback of a lot of these different folks. We learned from that 99% of the folks said that they have some pains and problems that are generated by too many alerts. We saw that 39% of the organizations that responded said that they're getting more than 1,000 alerts a day. I think it was 14 or 20% said that they're getting 5,000 or 10,000 alerts every single day. And when it comes down to the tracking of like how many of those alerts do you get to, you have a lot of alerts, but you've got a team to help you, right? You've got a SOC, you've got SecOps processes in place. And that story was pretty sad too. The fact that they're not able to get to all the alerts in a single day, only 7%. So 93% said that we can't get to all of them. And it was just a varying degree of folks that are trying to use automation technologies and scripting and techniques to try to help with that effort, but it's still a problem. And what I'm articulating here on the right, this alert fatigue is clearly no longer a human scale problem. With the cybersecurity skills shortages, the fact that there's unfilled roles globally, according to ISC squared, you're now pushing up to the 4 million mark. So these jobs that are 4 million jobs that are not filled and can't be filled. There's just not enough talent. This is not a human scale problem. You can't hire your way out of this pain point and this challenge. And I'm guessing a lot of you folks on the line here today are experiencing that as well. This is why we feel that you have to modernize your security operations and your workflows and your processes with a SaaS-based SIEM. And you might ask yourself, well, what is a modern SaaS SIEM going to have? It's going to have really these three key tenets. So you're going to need to have a cloud-native architecture, automated security operations, and be able to deliver a modern analyst experience for your security team. Now, if I look and dive a little bit deeper in cloud-native architecture, just some of the top things to boil up there. When we're talking about cloud-native, you really need to offer multi-tenant elastic scalability. It's that you're able to then deliver the elasticity and the ability to dynamically scale and provision enough resources to be able to handle your ingest rate, but then of course dynamically scale it back down when it's a low period, and you don't need to have this over provisioning and overspending. You definitely don't need to be hit with surprise charges as well. But we're also able to deliver a unified platform across all these different teams: IT ops, SecOps, DevOps. You could even let your data scientists in on it. You could be letting your legal team, HR team. Everyone in the organization can be playing from the same songbook or playbook, because you're all working off the same data. And Sumo Logic doesn't charge per user or administrator for access to the platform. So it's really an all-in solution. Also, when we think of cloud native architecture, we also think of being basically vendor neutral, that you're cloud provider agnostic. You're able to support multi-cloud and hybrid cloud technologies. And that would, of course, prevent any vendor lock-in. If we go down the center column, you think about automated security operations. The key thing that you need to have is the ability to automatically triage your alerts, convert those alerts and all that noise down to just succinct, actionable insights. Yes, you should have automated threat enrichment and out-of-box security content to get you up and running rapidly. That's also key. But at the top, if you can handle that first blue bullet there, you're well on your way to having a modern SaaS SIEM. And on the right-hand side, being able to truly deliver a modern analyst experience. What this is speaking to is to have a UI with a workflow for analysts that was designed and built by analysts for use by security analysts, along with the ability to bring everybody on the same page for collaboration using event management, and the ability to distill insights and information across large data volumes using deep search across those complex data sets as well. So with Sumo Logic, we have a couple of offerings, but it all comes down to our core platform, and that's our continuous intelligence platform. This is really acting as your central log management for security use cases and for compliance use cases. And for a lot of Sumo Logic customers, this is actually what they've applied. They've found that having these pre-built modern app context for our dashboards and our pre-built queries for search, and of course our full text search capability, is exactly what they need to be able to meet their compliance. We've got multiple apps that delivers PCI compliance across Windows and your across AWS and across your Unix and Linux. And with that, you're able to have that extensive log querying and analytics that they need for that, and that's great. But a lot of customers are also turning to looking at replacing or augmenting their existing or traditional SIEM that they've got. So for customers that are looking for a cloud native SIEM, a SaaS SIEM, so it's SaaS delivered, that's where we offer this add-on. It's Cloud SIEM Enterprise to our core platform. And that's what I'm going to be talking to you today, folks, is how this cloud native SIEM is able to bring all the core platform features at the bottom, but on the top, be bringing you that automated triage and prioritization of alerts, a breadth of aggregation of data, plus the automatic enrichment of that data, with rich out-of-box global content, more than 300 content rules that make sense of all the different data sources that you're going to be feeding into the SIEM solution, with an investigation workflow and a modern UX, which I'm showing on the right-hand side here. I'm going to give you a demo shortly, which is bringing you into this mission-critical focus of looking for that needle in the proverbial haystack within all that security data that you're feeding it. So Cloud SIEM Enterprise in action. Before I show you the demo here, just want to point out that we've got these real four key things here. Correlation-based threat detection and a centralized view of threats across your public, your multi-cloud, and your on-prem environments. Also, we're delivering workflow automation to improve security operations process and analyst efficiency. We're prioritizing and triaging insights, and that helps shorten your incident response time. So this is allowing your analysts to perform other high-value security activities like threat hunting and vulnerability management and others like that. This third item here, gaining enhanced visibility and context for investigations, because we're able to help use your device, and cloud service information, application, and network metadata as well, and use that in those investigations. And this final piece, this highly tuned interface, again, I'm showing on the right-hand side here to help give you a quick early image of what our user interface looks like. This is built by security analysts for security analysts, and you can see what I mean as we get into the demo. So without wasting any more time, let me pop over for you folks and bring this up. So what I'm sharing with you here is our heads-up display. This is the main entry point into Sumo Logic Cloud SIEM Enterprise. And this is purpose-built, as I've been mentioning a couple times now, for analysts. So for those of you that I see that are on the call here that are actually in the trenches working every day to day, this is probably a screen that you would have up on your wall of your SOC, giving you a quick at-a-glance view. And to boil it down, what we do and what makes us special and what makes us unique and why you're probably here on the call today is the fact that we're taking in and looking at all of your raw data and your logs and your alerts and your security events, and we're bringing those in. So what we're able to do is we're able to actually, we're normalizing those records upon ingestion. So we're parsing, we're automatically mapping, and then creating normalized records based on your structured and your unstructured data that you're bringing into Sumo Logic. And so those records in this example here that I've got from the screenshot, sorry, not a screenshot, this is the live environment. I've got 3 million records. And apparently that's up 7% in the last 24-hour period from the previous period. We've whittled that down, and we've been able to understand that there are now just 77 signals or alerts that we've been able to derive from all those records. That's actually an increase of 32%. But where we go farther with Sumo Logic Cloud SIEM Enterprise is then we're actually not making you have to go through these 77 signals. This could, in most production environments, this could be in the thousands of signals per day, per 24-hour period. But we're bringing you down to just a handful of insights, 16 in this case, denoted by these red triangles as we go around the mass in the center here. So the mass in the center here, this is the insight radar. If I change my view from 24 hours to 48 hours, the view changes. I've got different data and telemetry coming. I can even punch all the way out to 7 days looking back. And it starts at the center of the screen at the 12 o'clock position. And it's looking at this last 48-hour period going around. You'll see these blue line going around the perimeter. That's the ingestion of your records. And if it looks like it's pretty static, it looks like it is pretty, just chug it along here. And it looks like we've got a peak here where we went up from a normal pretty much of 121,000 records at any given moment. And it shot up to about 198,000 records at this one little ingestion peak here, it looks like. And it also can dip. These little cyan colored bars or blue colored bars are the signals that are coming through. And again, as you go 12 o'clock position clockwise around the horn here, you're able to see all the different signals that were being fired at that particular time. But what's most important to you and of course to your security analysts working on the front lines are going to be focusing on these insights. And these insights are giving a key code as to new insights that haven't been looked at yet, which are being coded as red. And as I hover, I can see that there's one here at this particular time. Looks like there was 4 insights within this 1 hour period alone between 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. I've got a yellow one showing up, indicating that this is an insight that one of my team members must be working on right now because they denoted it as in progress. So that's good to know. I even have ones that show up as green, which help me indicate at a quick glance, again, this might be on my SOC wall, I could see that this one's actually been closed out. So there's still some other work to do. So I can drill down on these and get to work as an analyst, say, 7 a.m. on a Monday morning or on a Thursday morning. Now on the left-hand side here, I also have some additional information of the different sensors that are pulling in data. Blue is good. That means that they're online and their data is flowing. And these are all dynamically updated in real time. Yellow indicates that there's potentially an update available. Looks like there is here. Whereas red would indicate that the sensor has been knocked offline for whatever reason, or no records are flowing from that particular sensor. So this gives you a quick heads up to go click on view sensors and drill down into that. But for the most part, what we've done here with a modern SaaS SIEM delivery of our Cloud SIEM Enterprise is we're helping to eliminate the dedicated headcount, of course, that you normally would have with an on-prem SIEM solution. You don't need people, babysitting and caring and feeding and worrying about, hard drive allocation or SSD drives. Nobody had to draw the short straw and go into the data center during this COVID shelter in place. We're managing all of this, of course, for you in our multi-tenant environment built natively in AWS. On the right-hand side of the screen here, you're also able to see the latest insights as they come in, and they'll be automatically pictured here in a baseball card style view orientation, indicating the IP address. We also track against host name, usernames, and this is giving you what we pivot our different insights on. And again, an insight is what we've whittled down from records to signals down to insights. And insights are what matter the most. This is our opinionated view of critical incidents that you need to look at. And so when we share them in this particular view, you're able to quickly grok that there are 5 unique signals that make up this one insight. And the dwell time so far, it's been going on for about 8 days since first discovery that we've stitched together all these signals to tell this one story. And that story is apparently an exploit delivery and a port scan. Which would be part of lateral movement and defensive evasion tactics if you were to look at it and map it against the MITRE attack framework. So I can review this, or I could close it out if I know that this is already been handled, or if this is maybe repetitious or something. When you go into the Insights menu, you're greeted with this Kanban like Scrum board view of all these 226 insights. And I can filter them down. I could be looking at based on severity or name of the actual the insight. I could be looking up by the unique numbering sequence that we attribute to each one as they come in. And you can also have them in these different process boards too. All this is customizable to match what your current SOX processes call them, if it's in progress or closed or working or tier 1 or tier 2 or tier 3 or incident response. All of these are very simple to operate and can just be dragged and dropped over and moved over in our view. And this is it. The entire SOC team, all working from the same page, tracking all these different events and managing these insights. So if I want to drill down and look at a particular insight, I could look at basically any of these I could pick from. I'll just pick the first one at the top here. What I'm greeted with is now the insights detail page. And this is probably where most of the analysts are going to spend the bulk of their time as they're in a particular insight, looking at the signals that make up that insight and the artifacts and any automatic enrichments that we've provided to that data, pulling in from data that you can connect and enrich the data. And this is where you're going to see this view going back in time. So the earliest to the most recent at the bottom. But of course, I could change that ascending to descending order if I'd like to. And these signals are represented also in this timeline view here. It looks like 3 of the signals fired at the same time. Now, I know this is a demo environment, so a production environment will be much more rich, showing a history going from left to right across the timeline view, whether it's the rule that triggered that signal, or it's an anomaly rule that triggered the signal, or it was threat intelligence showing up as this little pink-colored pentagon. And now that I know that I want to work this incident, because I realize that this is something that's probably valid, I'll be able to go through all the different signals and understand that, okay, so HTTP Cloudflare protocol violation, or there is an empty response. I can click on it, I can drill down and now start to see the record or records that make up this one particular signal. And again, in a production environment, you could be having dozens or hundreds or thousands of records that make up a signal. And that's part of that process where we're whittling down records to signals down to insights. Now I'm still in my one single insight, which apparently is an initial access with exploit delivery and command and control was exhibited. But in particular, I'm looking at this one record, which is part of the second signal of 4 signals that we had. I've got time stamping of what's happened. I can see the different stages that it's attributed to for MITRE ATT&CK framework. I can see then when I get down into it, I could export it as a CSV or JSON file. And as I'm looking at this record information, I can see it as an overview mode, which is our way of cleaning up the data, but I could go back if you prefer to look at it in a raw view. We leave it here for you. We don't want to mess with that. Different people have different ways of consuming data, of course. You can also see very faintly in the background here, we're also mapping international flags of the countries of where this traffic is coming from, a very subtle map of China here behind the source of 1.2.34.5. I can see an American flag here, again, American flag here for the device IP address of what was being tracked, as well as all the other details that make up this particular record. So I'm getting a little bit detailed here, but what I wanted to share with you folks is the level of depth that you can have in drilling down. And again, I'm not formulating fancy searches here and queries. I'm just following the breadcrumb trail that we're laying out in this view. On the left-hand side, you have various information available to you on this one particular incident. Its status was new. Of course, I could move that here if I hadn't already dragged and dropped it previously in the Kanban board view. Assign it. I could take ownership for myself, take it to Dana. There we go. The severity level was deemed to be medium by Sumo Logic. That's fine. The entity that's pivoted off of is this particular device, 1.2.34.5. Signal data, event time, dwell time. I can create tags. And if it's a particular behavior or pattern, or maybe it is an APT or a persistent attack from a group or an entity that we've been tracking already, that's fine. I could actually have tags written down here, and now it'd make it that much easier to search and find these relevant or maybe even correlated incidents over a period of time, because the data will always be here within your Sumo Logic Cloud SIEM Enterprise at your disposal. Along with any comments that you want to leave, we have a 280 character limitation on that, and then that will make sure that everybody's on the same page and is understanding what you did when you worked on this insight. When it's time to close it out, you can close an insight. You can also take actions. Maybe you want to send it off to demo accounts. I can see here, email Eric Smith and the different teams. What I wasn't able to set up for you folks ahead of time, and apologies for this, was there's a bunch of other actions that I can have here created for on-demand actions, but they require me to have already pre-set up API keys for Slack and keys for PagerDuty, keys for Demisto, keys for all the other different actions that you're able to take. So if it's okay, I'm going to pop out to the normal demo here and show you how easy it is to set up the actions in that window that would appear where I just was. And you basically create an action, and you can choose the action based on the type. Maybe it's an AWS simple notification service, sending things working with Demisto, emails, HTTP posts, HipChat, using IBM Resilient, PagerDuty, Slack webhooks that you want to use. And so, if I take Demisto, for instance, I could give it a name, then say whenever an insight is created, take this action automatically, or have it on demand, which makes it appear in that screen I was just showing you folks. When actually working an insight, the action tab would allow you to have this as a potential action. You turn it on, make it active, and then here's, of course, which I didn't have on me. I do not have an API key set up in the URL for sending off to Demisto, the client certificate, any extra headers that you want to have for creating an instant API endpoint. But it's all right here at your fingertips as a user / administrator of the product. So let me go back here and go back to my insights that I was working on. I think it was this guy here on the left I was at. Yep. The other thing you can do when you're working the insight is to delete it or close it. If I'm going to close the insight because I've worked it, I can say that I've resolved it. Or maybe it was a false positive, maybe no action was needed, or perhaps it was actually a duplicate. So if I've resolved it, I've worked it out, I can say closing this now, some other statement to that effect, and then close the insight. And now that, of course, will show back up when I'm looking at my insights as a closed item. And I'm guessing that'll show up as soon as I hit my, button here. think I was, which one was I working on? I think it was under, oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm looking at statuses that are not closed. That was a filter I had on. So here's all the closed ones. There it is. I was actually filtering that out. Sorry about that. So here is the item that I just completed. I worked the incident, the insight, and I wanted to close it out. I did so, and it shows up here as this final one of 154 total insights that were closed. Now, if you want to dig into the signals that we've generated, we have that ability for you to do it in the past 7 days. If you want to take off that filter from the last 7 days, look at that. You've got 55,000 signals that you can search to your heart's content. You can filter to get to the ones that you're particularly looking for, or look through date stamps and time filtering. So we haven't taken that opportunity away from you. It's just that what we've provided, which is unique to Sumo Logic, is that we're whittling down all these signals that might seem disparate and unconnected, and we've correlated it down into our insights. You also have the ability to drill into the records and search for all those different records that we've normalized for you when we ingested the data. We automatically parsed it and mapped it. All that unstructured and structured data is here at your fingertips, broken out by the different types, and again, filterable and searchable as well. So this is probably just scratching the surface of what the solution is able to provide for all the different use cases. If you're going to be using us to be hunting for threats, if you're going to be using us for the correlated threat detection, you want to be doing automated workflows and working extensively with other solutions for your automation needs for playbooks and such. We basically become this hub, this foundational piece for your SOC operations. This is what a modern SIEM looks like. So let me pop out here and I'll come right back to where we left off, folks. And I've been talking about knobs and I've been talking about switches this whole time. I also want to make sure that you understand that we have the support too, especially when you need it most. We're starting with professional services for any onboarding to get you up and running quickly. It's a very easy product to set up, but of course, this is where we're able to help give more of that white glove service to get you up and running with our core platform and our Cloud SIEM Enterprise offering. Premium support. This is where you're going to get enhanced service level agreements. You're going to have a dedicated technical account manager with advanced onboarding support, helping you develop a plan and then execute against that plan as well over the coming months or years as you get enjoyment of the product and optimization of the product too. And at the tip of the pyramid here is also our SpecOps service that we have. This is our basically threat hunting as a service by this elite team of cybersecurity experts that come from a variety of different mission critical organizations and U.S. military organizations. And this team is working around the clock. We have a couple of opportunities. I think one of them is, I think 8x5, the other is 24x7, where they're there ready to use as a force multiplier for your team. We've got small organizations use it because it's an extension of the team that maybe they don't really even have. And we've got large, very large enterprises that use the SpecOps service because it's just they're able to get so much more done with more hands on deck, knowing that they have to train these folks. They don't have to pay any other time or attention, that they're actually just bringing to bear the best practices that they've got in the cybersecurity space for battling these threats. So with that, I also want to be conscious of the time. We'll go through and take a look if we've got any questions in here. I'm gonna all right. Okay. Looks like we got a great question about how do you protect your SIEM solution from being compromised, or how would you protect it from being abused? And that's actually a great question, because as soon as you start moving, we talked about cloud migration and cloud transformation earlier on as a chief challenge. Well, here's a great example. Here's Sumo Logic running in the cloud for the cloud and bringing in all your on-prem data as well as you start to migrate as well. We have gone through exhaustive criteria and certifications and multiple attestations for our platform. And those are detailed out on sumologic.com. I encourage folks to go take a look at that, because we've put a lot of wood behind that particular arrow. We are currently in the FedRAMP certification process, so that's something to check out as well. We are also, our core platform is PCI DSS service level 1 attested or certified. So that allows folks to just put their data in our platform. And for some customers, they actually use that as part of their demonstration of compliance, that because we're bringing that service level provider, service level 1 service provider for PCI certification, that is what they're then showing to their QSA auditors. When it comes to the data at rest and data in motion, all of that is encrypted. I believe that's also detailed in a brief that we've got on our website as well. And we also go through, I think we're SOC 2 compliant, if I'm not mistaken, and we have our own internal audit checks that we go through as well. So this is a great question. I'm glad you brought it up. And with that service level provider 1 PCI certification, we achieved that 5 years ago. And so as difficult as it was to get that first one, some of you that are definitely well versed in this will know how important it is for every year thereafter to still attest and be able to be audited and make the microfine improvements along the way, year after year. And that was 5 years ago. So great question. Thank you for asking that. Let's see. We've got another one. How much does it cost? I appreciate the question, but there's so many different variables here. So for all pricing questions, I would rather you speak with your Sumo Logic sales account manager or your authorized Sumo reseller. But if you want, for now, you could head to sumologic.com/pricing. There you'll see the different packages that we offer. And you also have access to an interactive tool. You can use the sliders to see how our unique credits-based model, which is very flexible and powerful, it can be set up and how it can provide that transparency that really is unique to us in the SIEM market. We're quite proud of that fact too, that we're able to offer this great service and this capabilities to our customers without giving them surprise, invoices like some other SIEM providers do to customers, which is obviously unfortunate. Well, with that, folks, I see that we've gone over a couple minutes. I promised to get you back in your day, so I want to leave you with this. I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for your questions and coming out today. And again, this recording will be provided to folks that attended and for those that were not able to join us. If there's any questions that you have, you could reach out to myself, Dana Torgersen, Director of Product Marketing here in our Security Business Unit, dtorgersen@sumologic.com. But I highly encourage you to work with your Sumo Logic sales rep who you may already be working with or your authorized Sumo reseller for any questions that you have. With that, thank you again and have a great, great day.